Hey, welcome back to my game making journey vlog. I'm excited to share the process of making the concept art for my character's room. It was so much fun because it gave me the opportunity to really get to know my character on a whole new level. So let's get right into it. Initially, I hoped that working on this room will serve as a way to brainstorm my character's day-to-day activities. And there were a few rough sketches done beforehand, but I didn't give it too much thought when I made them. In the quick 30 minutes challenge we did, the challenge was more about how I can make game assets fast. So it wasn't really about how the room was going to look like, I think. But I still had this vision of this room to be a warm, cheerful space filled with lots of stuff. And I wanted to focus on making it feel just nice in here. At the very beginning, I started by browsing through a variety of rooms on Pinterest. I saw all the different room aesthetics and determined the level of detail I wanted to have for this concept art. This particular part was really fun because it's like you're the interior designer and you get to go shopping for furniture for your character. The important part of this step is to ask yourself, will this character use the items that you have prepared for them? So for Melanie, I knew she'd have a small room and it's going to have a lot of stuff because the house is her grandma's old cottage and she's moved in here a few years ago. You'd expect to see her plant collections, some photos of her favorite memories, as well as a place where she can hang out like the dining table and her bed for chilling on her laptop. Now let's talk about Melanie for a little bit. Melanie is a character that's a little bit like me, though not entirely, because she also has her different upbringing and the people she knows are quite different due to her environment. But in all honesty, I'm still getting to know her. And this exercise helped me put an image of her routine vividly. Here are some points about her as I show you the items that will be added to the room. Melanie is in her early 20s, working a part-time job in hospitality. She likes reading books, taking photos, and looking after her plant babies. She also has a guilty pleasure, which is watching horror movies late at night with her laptop and a projector. So with these in mind, I added these items that align with the description and scattered them around the room. I had these fluffy ideas beforehand on what things my character was into, but the more I drew in this piece, it became more clear and it let me rethink some of the traits and quirks she had. If you're also thinking of making concept art, imagining your character's everyday activities not only aids in generating ideas, but also it deepens your understanding of their personality. Let's imagine a morning ritual. Does your character get up early, or do they not? Do they stay up late like Melanie, watching movies till late hours? How else would they spend their spare time? This exploration stage can help discover the character's preferences. Let's say your character likes a nice calming morning. Would they enjoy drinking a nice cup of tea in the sunlight as they slowly wake up? Or do they not get up until they snooze their alarm several times? And if so, by the time they get up, would they then have to rush out the door with a scruffy hairstyle? I remember daydreaming about fictional characters like this when I was little, but now turning that into a story is very, very fun. Despite how I had done some sketches of the room previously, I always like to start with color palette and the mood board. Knowing which character occupies this space helps too, so I used Melanie's personality as my guide. In my head, she's a very cheerful and curious person. So naturally, her color palettes gravitated towards warmer tones. Sometimes I found myself recoloring items as I added more to the room because the more I added, the dynamic of the objects changed. So every now and then, I adjusted here and there. Of course, there are rules to a good interior design, but I think for characters that don't have that knowledge, I like to just design the room the way I think the character would decorate it. Sometimes looking messy is also a part of conscious decision making. About halfway through of working on this piece, I realized that the room was looking a bit bland. Then it clicked with me. There is someone viewing the room, or any room for that matter. We tend to form an impression of the person who lives there based on what we see in the surroundings. There just weren't enough things in the room to tell who Melanie was. Which is kind of funny because, personally speaking, I used to look up to minimalism, thinking that having fewer things would help me focus on what really matters. But in this case, lately anyway, I've come to realize that having a room you actually want to spend time in, like a room that makes you feel good, is so much better. So I decided to keep adding things to Melanie's room that would bring her joy. Originally, my goal with this project was to make a game, and that's still true. But as I get invested in this Melanie's world, there's a little bit more that I wanted to do, and that's a comic. I know, you're probably thinking that I'm being too ambitious and biting off more than I can chew, and honestly, I agree with you. But hey, since this is just my hobby project, why not go all out and do everything that I want to do? Now, let me explain why this concept art is a crucial part of what I'm working on. It's not just for the game anymore. It's going to be my reference point every time Melanie's room pops up in both the game and the comic. It's like feeding two birds with one scone, and it's going to make my life a whole lot easier. Of course, not everyone or every project has a luxury to make concept art for every location. So sometimes all you need is just a plain pencil sketch and do what you can to cut down the time. It's totally fine too. This is just my example of how I stylize my concept art. And there you have it. With this concept art, I can't wait to dive into more creative adventures. The next time I get to work on this project, we'll be exploring Melanie's exterior design of her house, along with her friends' rooms and houses as well. Plus, I'm excited to use this for making comics, so you can all experience the world even more. If you enjoyed this and want to see more creative process videos like this, please give it a like. Your support really motivates me to keep making this video. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll catch you guys next time. Bye!